On behalf of My Retired Life Foundation, we extend a very hearty welcome to all of you for this exciting program today. I say exciting because it's on a program, it's on a topic which is close to the heart of many of us. We have read about it, or heard about it, but in our group at least, we haven't heard about it from any of the esteemed speakers till now. So therefore, it's going to be an exciting talk to all of us. And this topic is mindfulness. We always talk about mindfulness meditation as one of the most premier what you call modes of meditation, whatever we talk. But uh, we will be having opportunity today to learn more about it. And at the outset, I must thank Swami Chidananda ji, who has been kind enough to support us when I talked about a 3 months before to get an able facilitator. He recommended the name of Dr. Ranjini Banian as the one of the most what do you call the renowned personalities in the country today to talk on this particular topic, and therefore she is with us today. So it is going to be an exciting time for all of us. The biodata of the Ranjini Manian madam has already been circulated to all of you. But let me again try to say a few words that Dr. Ranjini Manian is an authority on this mindful meditation for more than 3 decades of experience. She has over 2 decades of entrepreneurial, cultural ambassador, and the author and also the philanthropist. She has written a couple of books also. One of the books, her books has been a very, it's an offering today, which is called the Champion Moment Truth. Champion Woman Truth. She is actually a pioneer of the women empowerment in the country. If you look at her CV, the one of the things which comes out is that she has been a champion of the women empowerment. She has been on the Harvard's Women Leadership Group. She has founded what is called a founder chair of the Global Adjustment Foundation. And when you look at it, the Global Adjustment Foundation, the micro box site, I mean to say, you'll be astounded that they have touched the life of more than 175,000 women in the various areas of our life, whether there's a corporate, whether there's an NGO, whether there's a school, whether there's a college, and so on and so forth. So she is a very strong practitioner, a votary of the women's right in the country today. But today she'll be talking on a very important topic of the what you call mindfulness meditation. And she has got in psychology and a French literature degree from a Bombay University and the Sorbonne University of the Paris. And she has also been awarded an honorary doctorate degree. So Dr. Ranjini Manian, we welcome you. We extend a hearty welcome to you on behalf of My Retired Life Foundation. And the floor is open to you, madam. Please take it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sengupta. What an honor to be able to be with an esteemed audience at My Retired Life Foundation. Dr. Swami Chidananda has spoken very highly about this organization, its commitment to growth and co-mentoring of each other with such rich experience. Everybody is there to guide and co-mentor each other in this group. And he speaks very positively about the need for such communities to be built in the world. And he says this is an exemplary group to try to replicate wherever else we are. So what an honor to discover you and to be with all of you here today. I am speaking to you today from the city of Chennai, which you would have known in the olden days as Madras in South India. I am a Matunga Mami from Mumbai. And I know Navi Mumbai and Mumbai like the back of my hand because I was raised there and went to school in Dadar. And then I went to college in Colaba, and so moved to Malabar Hills. So know the two sides of Bombay and was raised in a very lucky family because I think I was born with my heart overflowing with devotion from early childhood onwards, but at the same time, the aspiration to fly on global wings. My mother was a banker. She headed up Bank of India as one of the first women to become the head of a bank. And my dad was excellent at people skills and taught us how to be seeped in the Chinmaya mission's upbringing, but also speak foreign languages and try to just be a person as a global citizen. So I've had the very lucky privilege of being raised like that. And then I met someone whom I wanted to marry, also at Tambram, but I had to move to Chennai to live here. So I've lived here now for the past almost 4 decades, and started a business many years ago, 26 years ago. It's called Global Adjustments. Dr. Sengupta very kindly introduced me. And Global Adjustments, when I started it, was a brand new idea, because the idea was when the foreign companies come into India, they need a service platform that will help them to set up in India, but also look after their needs of their family and understand the Indian cultural mindset to work with Indians. So I've worked with people like Amazon. I mean, right in the beginning, it was even working with Jeff Bezos himself when he first came to India and he wanted to put his first $1 billion investment into the country. Or with Ford Motor Company, when they came as the first car manufacturing foreign cars that were going to be completely manufactured in India. So in all the different industries, about 400 companies, I've had the privilege of working with about 78, 79 nationalities. And what allowed me to enjoy that career as an entrepreneur, as a woman entrepreneur, with a complete team of about 100 women in my company. It is a small organization, but did very important work of promoting positive feelings about Indian business culture. And I started in Chennai and then set up offices in Bombay and Delhi and Pune and Bangalore and Hyderabad. And later, I had the privilege of also handing over the baton of my business to my daughter and going off to do my own thing, which is my passion, which is exactly this: talking, learning, studying, sharing about the importance of emotional well-being. And I started something called Global Adjustments Foundation. And just like you, our foundation is meant for non-profit, and it is it's available on the website as championwoman.org. I'll type it up for you later in the chat. The idea of Champion Woman is when we worked with companies like Ford or Hyundai or Amazon or Barclays Bank or whoever the foreign companies were, they wanted to give a lot of work to Indian women. But either there were not enough women that were applying for jobs, or if they joined these companies, they would just leave the companies quite soon. Every time there is a major milestone in the family, they wouldn't know how to handle a crisis. So I decided that the NGO needed to empower women to have self-confidence from within, to be able to continue to work and serve the nation. And the work could be in a career, but it could also be in an NGO. It could be in teaching. It could be in being a wonderful homemaker, but in the homemaker status also doing something beyond I, me, and mine, because our country needs our women's force to really grow our strength. So that's where I am at now, and that is the 175,000 women and girls that we've been now able to work with in the past 5 years. We do it through free online now with the pandemic, online workshops, and we go into corporate India or into soldiers in the army or nurses in the frontline warriors now with COVID, wherever. And we do these programs called Champion Woman programs. And the base of the program is emotional strength. And that's why I'm here today to share with you the main part of our curriculum, which is the importance of going from mindful to mindfulness. And I'm hoping that some of you like the title of the talk, because is your mind full right now? Can you tell me, what is your mind full of? Is there something in your mind that's kind of full right now? You can put it in chat or you can unmute and tell me, but what is your mind full of right now?
These thoughts, madam.
Thoughts.
Thoughts. Lot of thoughts.
Lot of thoughts. Positive thoughts. Anxious thoughts.
Good thoughts, bad thoughts, our good memories, past
memories, yeah.
and all like that.
Yeah, combined thoughts.
Combined thoughts. Past. So about 1/3 of our brain is full of past memories. You know, that day when I was standing outside Bata Shoes, she said that to me here. That kind of thought. Maybe good, maybe not so good. That doesn't matter. But at 1/3 of our mind is full of past memories, sometimes regrets, sometimes things that we wished we had done more of, things like that. And then 1/3 of our mind is about the future fears, right? Filled. I don't know now who's going to get COVID. That one, maybe that person who just passed by, he coughed, maybe I'm going to get sick, whatever, right? When will I finish all my vaccines? What is going to happen? This work from home is so scary for our families, whatever. So future fears, anxieties, right? 1/3. And the middle 1/3 of the brain that has got some space left is full of to-do lists, right? All the things I have to do. I have to go to the grocery shop. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to make this for my family. I have to make sure my paperwork is correct, whatever, right? Full of to-do lists. So the mind is so full. And our topic today is, how can we go from that mindful to mindfulness? It's just one letter L. We have to remove one L, and it makes all the difference. So we're going to discover together, how do I remove one L and go into becoming a mindful practitioner? So it's not, mindfulness is not a religion. It is religion agnostic. It is age agnostic. It is culture and geography agnostic. Any human being, only thing is you have to be a human being. You can't be a robo and you can't be an animal. But if you have a mind, then you are the perfect candidate for practicing mindfulness. And in mindfulness, what is it? It's simply focusing on the present moment. Learning to come back to focus on the present moment. And calmly accepting, right, whatever this choiceless present is giving me, right? Right now, this choiceless present is giving me a chance to share with 57 other people this opportunity for the next 30 minutes, some ideas that maybe I already know actually, but just things to remind myself how I can live even better, right? It's a pretty good, decent opportunity. So can I keep my mind fully in the present for the next 30 minutes? Difficult, because every now and then the mind will go here and there. And it'll be a question of slowly learning to bring it back, right? Lovingly, caringly, treating our mind like a friend, talking to it and bringing it back. So that is what mindfulness is going to be about. And in this present, choiceless present, I'm calmly accepting and I'm acknowledging my thoughts. I'm thinking, not bad, that lady who's talking, her green shirt is quite nice, no? That thought is also going on. What she's saying is also interesting. Let's see, maybe it'll be interesting. That thought is also going on. I don't know when she's going to finish. I want to go and finish my coffee. That thought is also going on. So acknowledging the thoughts that we are having, becoming aware, completely aware of the thoughts without judgment. The green shirt thought is not a judgment that it's a better thought or a worse thought than the topic of mindfulness thought which just came into our head. There is no judgment in mindfulness. It's about becoming calm, accepting that I have these thoughts and I have some bodily sensations also right now. I don't know, maybe I'm feeling hot. Is anyone in this group feeling a bit warm or a little cold? Or just some air blowing on your skin? Just feel that sensation, right? Just accept bodily sensations. Mindfulness is about knowing, yes, I have this body and here are my sensations, but for the next few minutes when we do a practice, I'm going to forget about the body and only work with my mind. And finally, in mindfulness, we learn to relax this body and we learn to relax the mind by reducing the stress that we have in it. How many people in this group sometimes have a little stress? You can raise your hand. Yeah. Yes. So how do I reduce that stress? By letting go. Letting go of what? Past, future, and only being in the present. That's all. Very simple. And if I have to be just in the present and I have to let go the past and the future, I have to do it without judgment and I have to have a few techniques to be able to do it, right? So I'm going to just share with you some techniques today. That's all. And I have been practicing it for years and years and years. I'm a student just like everybody else. Many of you will be better at this than I am because you have so much of experience in it. But because it's a good topic to share ideas, I'm going to share a PowerPoint with a few pictures and ideas. And we'll just discuss some of the techniques together. Shall we do that? So when I ask you some questions, please feel free to give me answers, put it in chat or speak, whichever you like, because our emotional strengthening will happen the moment we start applying what we are discussing to our own life situation. Each one's life situation is slightly different, right? But it will apply to us if we translate it mentally, at least immediately, to our life situation. So let me just go ahead and take you through these slides. Emotional strength is more important now than ever before. They're saying that after COVID has come, 20% more increase in mental health issues have come, you know. So if you are feeling a little worried, anxious, scared, I don't know, getting angry, fed up, frustrated, fine, you're normal. Most people are feeling that way. So this new world will need emotional intelligence much more than IQ, intellectual quotient. It will need the idea that I can manage my emotions. And I can only manage my emotions. I can't manage other people's emotions, right? So if I manage my emotions, then other people watching me will learn, and it becomes to have a ripple effect. So I suggest a dose of happiness chemicals, okay? What are happiness chemicals? So D stands for dopamine. It is a chemical that the brain releases when you have drugs or alcohol. But you can also release the dopamine if you take care of some self-care activities. Like today, I knew I was going to see my friends, new friends in my Retired Life Foundation. So I put little powder, little lipstick, and I took some self-care. I must look nice. Then when you do that, you feel a little happy. I'm looking nice. That is actually a dopamine coming out in your brain. If you eat or make a dish which you enjoy, have you noticed why you feel happy? Because dopamine is coming out in the brain. Any little celebration, just clap. When two hands come together and clap, it's immediately celebration, and that automatically releases dopamine in our brain. Oxytocin is a second happiness chemical, which is called the love hormone. You know, you can get a lot of oxytocin in your brain if you just give a small hug to somebody who is near you. Nowadays with COVID, you can't hug anybody else. But when is the last time you patted the back or hugged someone with whom you've lived your whole life? Right? How we take it for granted. But a little touch, a warm touch, a little hug, a compliment giving to each other. That's why we feel happy when we play with a pet or a baby. All of this releases more love into our lives. Serotonin, you know, if you go and tell your doctor, I can't sleep, he'll give you a sleeping tablet. That's made up of serotonin. But we can get serotonin if we just meditate every single day, or if we take a walk in green nature. Endorphin, when I have a headache, I want to take a paracetamol or a Saradon in the old days, right? But you can get that same painkiller happiness chemical if you just laugh out loud. When is the last time we all had a belly laugh? Laugh loudly, no? Enjoy that joke. Especially if the joke is about you, laugh even louder. And you just have such an immediate painkiller released in your brain. A little bit of exercising is also good. Even if it is just arm movements, leg movements, if you're not very mobile, or a short walk, any of this gives endorphins. All of this will be helped because mindfulness increases all the four happiness chemicals. Wouldn't you like to have these happiness chemicals without the drug, the alcohol, the sleeping tablet, any of those things? It's in you, you can get it. So I want you now to apply this in your life and tell me which of these activities do you choose, at least one you should choose, that you will do more of in order to release happiness chemicals in your brain. Please choose one or two activities in this. Put it in chat or tell me about it.
Meditating and nature walk.
You will do that. Great.
Yes.
Great, Dikshit ma'am. Great.
Thank you.
Because you will feel much better mood after that. Who else? What else?
Meditating and exercising
Exercising.
and meditation.
Yeah, super. Great, Anand sir. Anybody else?
Helping others.
Helping others. That is when you release love for yourself. When you help others, you're actually releasing love for yourself. Fantastic, Renuji. Super.
LOL.
all the
Go ahead.
LOL.
Keep
LOL.
ourselves busy.
Laugh
Keep
out loud.
ourselves busy in creative work.
Yeah, yeah. Laugh out loud is a good one.
balancing the
Yeah,
all
right.
the four parts of these doses, balancing it
Yeah,
for certain percentage, and
balancing.
let go. Let go. If it doesn't happen, never mind. Try again.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why not? So go ahead and apply one or two of these starting today. After you disconnect this call itself, start applying it and see how much it helps. Okay. So thank you for agreeing to do that. Because see, there is this beautiful word in Hindi, in Sanskrit actually. One is called chitta and one is called chinta. You already know these two words, right? Yeah. Chitta is the funeral pyre. Chinta is चिंता है मुझे चिंता है means चिंता is worry, correct? You know the difference between chitta and chinta? Chitta burns you only once at the end of your life, the funeral pyre, but chinta burns you throughout your life. So if we don't give up worry, chinta, during this pandemic, this economic up and down, is the vaccine coming, what is happening, if we don't give up the idea of chinta, then throughout life we have to be worried only and burning throughout life. So the old sages had taught us this, that don't be allow chinta to burn you. In the end, only once let chitta burn you. You know, a funny thing happened in my house. See this bird? Yesterday, this bird fell down from the sky right here near my garden. And first I thought it was a crow because it was looking black from at the back. But when we picked up the bird, it was very pretty. It had a little red and green beak, and underneath it had brown color wings and all. And then I looked it up online in Google, and it was a white-breasted water hen. Now, when it fell down, my watchman picked it up, and I thought some wing broke or something. He just forced it to drink water. And it drank water slowly. It stood on one leg. After 10 minutes, it stood on both legs. And after 20 minutes, it had flown fast and far away into the sky. So I remembered from seeing my dear friend, the white-breasted water hen, that our mind also just needs to be hydrated. We are dehydrating our mind. Like this poor bird that was dehydrated in the Chennai heat and it fell down. Our mind is getting dehydrated. How? By constant worry, constant fear, constant anxiety. And the way to hydrate our mind is to practice some mindfulness. So I wanted to show you a couple of tools. The first tool is, and you may already know this tool, right? You begin your day with meditation. Some of you already do that. Many of you already do that, perhaps. I would love to practice with you today a few minutes, if you allow me towards the end of the session. So if you begin your day with meditation, the rest of your day, you can handle it much better. Haven't you noticed that? The day you do meditate, you can respond to life better instead of reacting and then saying, oh, I didn't want to say that, but that word just came out. That becomes better and better, isn't it? And the other tool that maybe all of you already practice is end your day with gratitude, which most of us have a practice of gratitude in our lives, right? Only difference that I do is I have a gratitude journal. See this? It's my gratitude journal. I write in this book every night before I fall asleep 3 things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for these 3 things today. Like today in my gratitude journal, I will write, I'm very happy and grateful that Chidananji introduced me to the My Retired Life Foundation and my Wi-Fi was working and I could make 58, 68 new friends. Can you take a minute now and write what you're grateful for in the chat or tell me? One thing.
I can tell. I will tell.
Anyone, go ahead.
Yeah. First thing is I'm grateful that I'm healthy.
Health. You're grateful
Yes.
for health. Fantastic.
Yes.
Someone else?
Yes. Second is someone else. Okay.
Yeah,
someone else.
one per person. So a lot of you can talk. Thank you.
Yes. No problem.
Samantha, you're grateful for the talk? Fantastic. That's great, Renuji. Yes, that we can talk to each other and enjoy this topic. I'm grateful to it too. Peaceful life,
Madam,
Shanti. Great. Huh?
I am grateful to MRL who has organized this such a nice program.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Semgupta. Yes. You're grateful for food and shelter, Veena. Sorry?
Grateful for today's session.
Session. Great, great. So see,
Happy to get positive vibes from your end.
positive vibes. That's something that you throw out and you get double. That's what I've noticed in my life. So we are all grateful for something, but we don't take the time to say it. Have you noticed this? How many times have you said thank you to the same person making the same dal and putting it on your table every day? So take the time, no? Patroji will tell Lakshmi ji, your dal was yummy today. Thank you. And Lakshmi ji will faint because she's not used to listening to that. Kya hai? Dal hi banaya tha. What is there? But we take the time for gratitude and we write in our journal. Then we start to see life as half full instead of half empty. And it makes a great difference. And I know that many of you must be already practicing these two things. I wanted to share 3 more things with you. This next tool that I suggest is slowing down, right? So what is meant by slowing down? It is whatever we are doing, we should do it at a slower pace so that we don't forget what we are doing. That means keep your mind where your hand is. How many times we take a pen and we keep it somewhere and then we're searching for it all the time? Where did I keep my pen? Where did I keep my pen? Because when the pen was being put down, your mind was not with the pen, correct? But if we slow down, and never mind what age it is, if we do our job with deliberation, it's called mindful living. Okay, I'm now with this pen, I'm putting my pen down on top of my book on my desk. That will just register in your mind and you'll never have to search for the pen again. Wouldn't our life be good if we didn't have to search for a pen? Half our life we are searching for pens, right? Anyway, so you will enjoy life. What else happens when you slow down? You understand people and situations better. If you're in a rush and fast you're doing something and somebody's saying something, you might misunderstand what they said to you because you are in a rush, correct? But if we take the time to listen, then we understand people better. And when we take a decision after that, we will take a wiser decision. This is what has happened and I've seen in our life in mindful living. So please take the time to slow down. How do you slow down? Wake up 15 minutes earlier than you usually do. Take that 10 minutes of meditation time for yourself. Arrive at events and programs in time or ahead of time, so you're not in a rush. When you're sitting at the table or waiting patiently somewhere, just use more patience. And whatever you're doing, stop doing that work. Tell yourself mindfully, I'm going to do this job a bit slower so that I enjoy it. It might just be drinking your cup of coffee. Look at the color brown coffee, smell it, right? Hear the gulping of the one mouthful that you just drank. Of course, taste the delicious brew. And with your complete 5 senses, enjoy your cup of coffee. And then you will see how much more you will enjoy living. Mindfulness is about doing things like this. So that's the third tool. The fourth tool is one-pointed attention. In Sanskrit, we call it ekagrata. Put only one-pointed attention in whatever you are doing. Now, if you decide to become a mindfulness practitioner and do one-pointed attention, you have to focus only on one thing at one time. So no more we can eat popcorn and watch a movie. No more. Gone out of the window. You have to eat your popcorn nicely and then you have to watch the movie nicely. Otherwise, what's happening? Where did my popcorn go? You don't even remember. When did I finish this popcorn? Movie, I don't know. That scene also I missed. What happened in that scene? So neither you're enjoying the movie nor you're enjoying the popcorn 100% because you're teaching your mind to be not one-pointed. We have to teach our mind to become one-pointed. If you're reading a newspaper, read it fully. If you're speaking to your spouse or your family member or work person, speak fully, full attention. And then you'll become a better listener. That's what ends up happening. You'll be able to understand their feelings better. And you know what has happened in my life? I've become more productive. I can do much more because I'm giving one-pointed attention and doing this job nicely, then going to the next thing and trying to do that job as nicely as I can. So I hope that you will enjoy this saying. It's one of my favorite sayings of Meher Baba. where he says a fast mind is a sick mind, a slow mind is wise, and we know that a still mind is divine. That's why when we fall asleep and we have a deep sleep and get up, what we say? I slept so well today. I feel so divine and happy because your mind was completely still. So Veena, yes, multitasking is not recommended for mindful living. But in today's world, we can't completely not multitask. But every time you do more and more of multitasking, you're teaching your mind not to be one-pointed. So as far as possible, we should try, when we have a choice, to do a single task focus and then do the next task. So even if you're looking at your cell phone, don't look at the WhatsApp and watch the show and look at the SMS and be calculating something all together. You're teaching your mind to become sick. So our gadgets can be very, very helpful to us. See how they're helping us to connect today. I'm so happy. But we should use our gadget to the way we want to use it, right? So that is the one-pointed attention. And now I want you to read with me, okay? This is called absorbed reading, a technique that is very nice. Can someone volunteer and read one paragraph? This is called absorbed reading. So read a bit slowly and we will discuss one or two phrases from whatever you read, okay? Who likes to read? Can you read this? Any volunteer?
I could, Doctor. Shanti.
Shanti, and then Lakshmi, I saw your hand. Who else put their hand up? Premalata. What about a guy? Can I have a man? Kaun hai? One more man. Any man volunteered?
Anand.
Anand. Okay. So those four, okay? First, who will start? Lakshmi, start reading the first para, please, ma'am.
This para padna hai. Para padna hai jo likha hai.
Good evening, doctor. I'll
Good
start
evening.
reading.
Please.
The repetition of a power word, mantram, brings an angry mind back under control so that we can be more patient, more constructive. If we were to ask the Buddha why we lose control at times of anger, he would point out the mind never was really in our control in the first place. The very nature of the mind is to be fickle, distractible, constantly in motion, in a word, to do whatever it likes.
Do you agree, Lakshmi ji?
Yeah.
What part of it is making sense to you?
I think the mantram, when we chant something, repeat something, our mind is calmer. I mean,
it
the
can bring an
thoughts.
angry mind back under our control. Correct? Because Buddha is saying, why you are losing your control? Because your mind is not in your control. So if you teach your mind, then anger or whatever. When we shout at somebody, who gets hurt more? Me,
ourselves.
That person, we only. Why I said that, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have said that. We keep saying that, right? So the very nature of our mind can change if we use a mantram or a power word to bring an angry or upset mind back. This is a reading from a very favorite book of mine. It's called Strength in the Storm. And Eknath Easwaran is an author who teaches mindfulness meditation. He went from India to Berkeley University in USA. And he taught this in America. And the books he writes are very simple like this. So it's so easy to understand and try to apply it. Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Let's have the next reader. Renu ji, you want to read? Or Anand, who wants to read this next paragraph? Padhiye?
The repetition of a power word.
Wo wala ho gaya. Next paragraph. It can't bear.
Okay, madam. It can't bear not having its way. It can't bear to be contradicted. So gets angry and lashes out with hurtful words. Most of us would be unaware of the underlying messages. You are not worth my respect. My ideas are superior. You don't count.
ऐसे होता है. When you lash out at somebody, subtly you're telling them What are you telling them, Anandji? What do you which phrase here makes sense to you?
You are not worth my respect. My
Ah.
ideas are superior. You don't count.
इतना बोल रहे हैं हम, बिना बोले we are telling them all this without really saying these words, because we are using hurtful words somewhere, something, maybe a staff who's helping us at home, maybe the driver who is coming suddenly in the middle when you're driving, whatever it is. What you are doing is you're lashing out and you're actually giving a message that you are not important. So we have to practice patience, right?
It's a practical approach.
Yeah, let's get the next paragraph. Who is the next reader? Go ahead, Renuji, you have to unmute.
Okay. To break this cycle, we have to reverse the process and learn to be patient under provocation. That's why the Buddha tells us to put up with hard words like an elephant struggling of arrows. He is telling us how to live in freedom instead of simply reacting to what others say and do.
What do you like in this reading?
Yeah, we should not react to others' others' behavior. We should actually respond.
Yes, and that means you're living in freedom. Isn't that a beautiful thought?
Yeah.
Freedom is not doing what you want to do. Imagine. That one told me idiot. I want to tell that person back stupid. Okay? I don't tell him stupid. That means I'm living in freedom. So isn't that a beautiful thought of the Buddha? Just shrug off the arrow. I'm not going to respond like this. I'm going to think about how I want to respond. I'm not going to react like this. Nice, not to be able to live like this. If we live like this, that cycle of negative emotions gets broken, they say. And this is mindfulness. You're constantly aware of what your thoughts are, what is happening in your mind, and you are taking 2 steps back and then only responding. Let's do the next paragraph. Who wanted to read?
I would like to.
Yes, sir. Who is it?
Naveen Dugal.
Boliye, Narenji, read.
Shrug off the daily darts and arrows that life sends. He is telling us, but never shout arrows at others. In other words, he is saying we should be prepared for a certain amount of impoliteness and discourtesy in personal relationships, not because people are bad, but because they can't control their minds just like us. True.
What is your comment, Narenji?
Well, it is very true that the moment there is someone triggers our weak point of the mind, we get reacted. But he says that do not respond immediately, just keep calm and let go, or just ignore it. But do not respond because the other person has some weakness. That's why he's speaking like that. And if we take it personally, then we come into a domino effect of so many reactions and side reactions and the past, and we start speaking nonsense things. Sorry, I also agree to that. Thank you.
Narenji, you're right. This domino effect is scary. Where we start and where we end, right? Sometimes. Yes. And some days we don't respond only. We are okay. Let them say what they want. So sometimes...
we go out of focus of the actual point to be discussed in a calm way. We can say, talk about this later. Let's calm down and all. But that time you get more angry. Why are you trying to teach me something?
Yeah.
I am right. So right and wrong comparison and opposition starts, which is colossal breaking of relationships.
Correct.
So actually, unwanted required.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're right. Actually, what happens is, all we have to remember in mindfulness is, people are not bad. That's not why they are being rude to you. Their mind is not in their control, just like sometimes our mind is not in our control. This we have to remember. So I have realized that if we remember this at the moment, when it is happening, it's, see, like this, talking to 50, 60 friends and everybody nodding the head and saying, yes, yes, yes is easy. After putting this call down, let somebody turn and tell you, you're useless. See how our mind responds. That time, we have to say, this person who's telling me I'm useless, poor thing, this is not a bad person. They can't control their mind. That's why they're talking like this. Sometimes my mind also, I can't control, right? That feeling, if you can remember at that moment, you are doing mindfulness practice. It's as simple as that, being in the present. Good thought, right? So the last reading, who wants to do?
Yes, myself. Strangely, Premlata here.
Yeah, go ahead, Premlata.
Strangely, we expect others to show courtesy to us, but we also expect them to bear with us if we happen to be a little rude now and then. Here, the Buddha asks a simple question. Why don't you remember that the other person is just like you? Like you, he doesn't like unkind words. Like you, she appreciates courtesy and respect. Should I complete the other three? He is not simply reminding us that people are going to upset us. We already knew that. He is saying that if we get upset, it's because we are upsettable. So we are vulnerable. That is we are vulnerable and we react, immediately react to everything. Every second we are ready to react only. We don't wait for a few seconds also.
Exactly.
And we don't put ourselves in others' shoes, actually. We never do that. We only think about ourselves and react immediately.
So beautifully you are explaining, Premlata. The important thing what Buddha says, which I love, is you can make yourself unupsettable.
Yes.
Imagine if we could live like this. Oh my God. Fantastic, no? Whatever happens, I am unupsettable. He says you are upsettable. That's why you're getting upset. No other person or situation can upset you. Only you are upsettable.
Yeah,
I love it that he's putting the responsibility back on us, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice to discuss this with all of you because it is the truth. And one more reader, how to become unupsettable. Let's read that. Who's reading? Go on. Vinod, read.
I think I can read, Doctor.
Okay, I'll give you the last one. We'll let Vinod read this and we'll come back to you, Shanti ji.
Sure, thank you.
Go ahead, Vinod.
This is a remarkable point. Just think, you don't have to be upset in an upsetting situation. All of us have times when life doesn't bother us and other times when one wrong word set off like a volcano. What makes the difference?
Finish it, Vinod. Sorry.
Only our state of mind, which we are learning to control. This is the benefit of practicing kindness. It may not have an immediate effect on those around us, but with practice, it will become a shield on strong that other people's behavior will not bother us at all.
Yeah. Shanti, can you comment on this?
I think one thing I'd like to comment is behavior is a choice. You know, we've got a choice to either accept the reality or, you know, sulk and say the other person's actions did have a huge impact on us. So it's definitely for us in terms of the thought process to say the choice is ours. What do we allow our mind to do? Do we allow other people to upset us, or do we change our thought process, you know, so that we don't have to get upset with what others are saying? Just like what Buddha said, you know, are we being upsettable? Or
yes,
can we have
absolutely.
that state of mind?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Shanti. Vinod, see the benefit of practicing kindness. Do you like that idea? Do you consider yourself a kind person, or do you consider yourself that you have some more room to become kinder?
There's always a room of improvement. I practice kindness, but I think, as you said, the situation and the way your work pressure, there's so many things involved. Yes, I can say that I'm much better, but there's a lot of room to improve.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you know, the best part, Vinod, is, as you read beautifully, when we realize that there are times when we are very patient.
Yeah.
Rubbish also somebody says, we'll just leave it. Other time by mistake in a movie theater, somebody steps on my toe and I'm like shouting and screaming.
True.
That time our mind is not kind. That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So mindfulness is practicing kindness every minute. So you wake up in the morning, first you're kind to yourself. You tell yourself, you are a lovely person here to contribute to the world in a unique way today, one more time. Then you are kind to the divine being that made you open your eyes and come into the world again one more day. Then you are kind to the ants and little germs that you might step on, and you don't want to be unkind and violent to anybody.
Yeah.
You are kind in your walking, in your talking, you're kind in your patience. Can you imagine? And people will ask me, this much of kindness means everybody will walk all over me. It's not true. You can be very firm also. You can be very firm. You can disagree with people, but you don't have to become disagreeable. So we agree to disagree, right?
Yeah.
Why we have to have that last word every time? No need. Kindness is letting them have the last word, right?
Yeah.
So this is called a mindfulness practice of absorbed reading and discussion. There are many such books and readings available on a website. I will type it into the chat. It's called bmcm.org. And every night before dinner, I make sure that my husband and I do some reading from one of the Eknath Easwaran website books in bmcm.org, and just 2-3 pages like this, and just a small discussion. Then, you know, you become better and better every day. You become better than yesterday. And that's all mindfulness is about. So I hope you enjoyed that. And the final little practice that I'd like to share with you that has helped is, of course, the mantra. You know that man means mind, right? And tra means that which crosses over the mind. So we all may be Islamic, we may be Sikh, we may be Jain, we may be Christian, we may be Hindu, or any faith. There will be a power word or phrase within our community, which is ancient and is always known for the power it gives us. Please pick up one such power phrase or word and make it your go-to, so that when you're doing mechanical activities or when you're falling asleep at night, you fall asleep on that power word. Because in today's world, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, I don't know, Moderna, I don't know, all these vaccines are very, very important. But for me, the Mantram vaccine is the most important, because in Sanskrit, it's called Bheshajam Paramam, means the best medicine. So you give yourself a vaccine every day. Kaun sa vaccine? A mantra vaccine. How do you do it? You use it over and over again to get rid of the monkeys which are fighting in your mind. Right? The father is telling the children, hey, there are 2 monkeys fighting inside me. One is the faith monkey. It says, I love everything. I enjoy peace. I'm going to be humble. Oh, I like to be kind. And then there's the other monkey, ego monkey on the other side. What is it telling you? Why you want to be kind to him? You know what he said about your mother that day. And then the ego monkey is also saying, getting angry, worried, has some pride. Why I should say sorry? I didn't do anything wrong. Why I should say sorry? Are, say sorry, no, it's over. That's what the one monkey is saying. The other monkey is saying, why? I don't want to say. So these 2 monkeys are fighting within me. And the father is telling the children, hey, both these monkeys are fighting inside you and in every person. Do you know that, children? And so the little girl is asking the father, Daddy, which monkey wins? So tell me, my dear friends from my retired life group, which monkey wins? Which one do you think wins? The faith monkey or the ego monkey? There you go, Shanti, you know the answer. The father tells the children, it's the one that you feed, right?
Yeah.
So if you take walnuts and cashew nuts and peanuts and you keep on giving it to the ego monkey, every time it's getting angry, you are allowing it to get more angry. You're saying, yeah, you're right. Why should you? Why should you? Then you're giving it a nice badam to eat. You're feeding the wrong monkey. If you feed the faith monkey, you will become, that will be the winner in your mind. So it's in our hands which monkey do we feed, correct? And you know what? You can't feed another person's monkey. It doesn't open its mouth only. Only your own monkeys will be opening their mouth, and only you can feed your own monkeys. So I suggest that we look after our monkey mind by picking up a mantra right now. Please, everybody who's on this group, please take a minute to think about which is your mantra that you would like to use. In Hinduism, Mahatma Gandhi used the mantra Rama, 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 and that's my mantra. And Rama just means the joy in my heart. Literally, it means the joy in my heart. It might be any other mantra from your faith. It could be Jesus, Jesus for the Christians, Allahu Akbar for the Islamic groups. It could just be the Buddhist mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, which means the jewel in the lotus of my heart. Tell me any other faith, any other mantra that you've heard of that you like?
Soham.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Soham.
Soham.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Om Shanti Om. Absolutely.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Absolutely. Hare Krishna. So
Ek Onkar. Ek
Ek
Onkar.
Onkar Satnam. Why not? Beautiful mantra. Ek Onkar. So whichever appeals to you, you should pick up that. And you shouldn't keep changing the mantra, by the way. Otherwise, your vaccines will get all mixed up in your mind. You have to say the same mantra so much that it goes deep into your subconscious. So that tomorrow, just like when Gandhiji was shot, what came out of his mouth?
Hey Ram.
वही तो आया था ना?
Hey Ram.
Hey Ram was so deep in his mind that only that came out. So tomorrow, when we have a difficult situation and our wrong monkey is jumping up and down, just go for a fast walk and say your mantra a few times. The rhythm of the mantra, the rhythm of your breathing, and the rhythm of your footsteps will help you to calm down and get over your negative emotions. It is proven beyond reasonable doubt that the mantram vaccine works beautifully. But please don't keep changing the mantra. Today I'll say Ek Omkar, tomorrow I'll say Vaheguru. No. Why? Because it will become like shallow holes you'll be digging. You won't be making a deep well to find the water within your own heart. So you have to use the same mantra. So it becomes second nature to you and comes out to you automatically when you need it. And the best times to use a mantra is when you are doing not such important work. For example, if you are sitting in a car and someone is driving, you can use the mantra. I look out of the window and I keep on saying my mantra. When I go for a walk, I take my mantra and I just put it on all the creatures that I must be walking by. In fact, all of you can try this activity now. Take your right hand to the camera. Please grab your mantra from there. Hold it in your right hand. Have you got it in your hand? Hold it. Hai kya? Have you holding it in your hand? And now, can you please put your mantra on all the people in this Zoom group? Just sprinkle it on them. How do you feel? Sprinkling it on others.
Very nice. Nice feeling.
Because we love to help others. So you can sprinkle it on others. You can do a mantram writing every day. You can write it for somebody who needs it. Somebody turned COVID positive. I don't call up and send WhatsApp and forwards. I write mantra for them for one full page. So if you do things like that, your mindfulness will increase and you will become a solution for the world.
To do that daily, writing mantra diary.
Wonderful. It's a great Likita Japa, it was called
Yes.
in ancient times. Wonderful habit of doing.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
That's great. It heals everybody. Absolutely, Dr. Jayanti. It heals everybody, him that gives and him that receives also, right? So that is the activity. So that's the recap. I want somebody to read the 5 things that we did today. Renuji, read the first point. The first point which I'm going to demo now. You're on mute, Renu.
And sorry, I didn't write actually first time forgetting. Sorry. I wrote from 4 and 5 only, first 3 I missed.
No, I'm showing it on the screen. Read it.
Acha, okay. Hanji. Meditation on a passage. Silent repetition upon.
Memorized. आपका म्यूट हो गया रेणु जी, म्यूट हो गया आपका. हाँ, बोलिए.
अच्छा. Silent repetition upon memorized inspirational passage from one of the world's great religions.
मैं अभी ये जो है, it's called meditation on a passage, mindfulness meditation. I will do it now with all of you, and we will try it. Okay, that's one practice. Second one, can Nirmal, can you read it? You're on mute, Nirmal.
Gratitude journalism. Seeing the cup as positively half full daily.
Super. Daily writing something
Beautiful.
with gratitude. Super, super. Swami sir, will you read one? Swami sir, you're on silent. You can remove and read? Or anyone else who likes to read. Read the third one.
Repetition of power phrase. Silent repetition of a power word or phrase to break conditioning.
Conditioning is because our mind is used to worrying. Whole time it will worry, no? It will worry so much, it will become very good at worrying. It will worry that it has nothing to worry about also sometimes. Have you noticed? So to break that, we need to have a mantra, silent word to repeat. Great. Fourth one.
I'll read.
Go ahead. Fourth one. Padhiye.
Yeah. Slowing down. Set priorities to reduce stress and hurry.
Yes. And the final one.
Can I?
Yes.
One-pointed attention. Give full concentration to whatever matter is currently at hand.
Brilliant. Those are the 5 things that we went over today. If you want, take your phone camera and take a picture of it. Okay. So these are the 5 points of mindfulness practice. And please pick 5 top influencers. Only surround yourself with positive people, because you become an average of the 5 people that you choose to be with, to spend time with. If somebody is being negative, being difficult, it's better you lovingly avoid them and go into a positive mode. Otherwise, they sap your energy, correct? After a phone call, what do you feel? Oh, so tired after talking to this person. So then we need to slowly move away from that. Yeah, not in a rude way, but in a with a kindness, we have to avoid it. Because the 5 people that influence us, our daily emotional well-being depends on what they give us also, and what energy we give in the world. So I'm going to leave you with my WhatsApp number. That's my WhatsApp number. And we have a YouTube channel called Champion Woman. You can subscribe. We have many guided meditations. And I would love to be in touch with you if you want to stay in touch after our program today. So now I'm going to stop all of the share and quickly ask you if you have a few minutes, you'd like to practice mindfulness meditation with me for 5 minutes. And then we will have a few minutes of question answers. Dr. Sengupta had told me it could go up to 6:15. Am I correct?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so we have just a few minutes. May I invite you to practice with me now? Some of you are willing to try it?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Positively. Yes.
So please take a few minutes to settle down wherever you are seated, in a chair or wherever you are on, comfortable. Very, very important is that your head, neck, and back has to be in a straight line. You have to have back support. Nice back support. Very nice. Sitting nice and erect is very important in meditation, because as we meditate, our nervous system will calm down, and you should have a straight back support so you can forget about your body and enjoy your mind. My dear friends, please take a few minutes to gently close your eyes. Keep your hands loosely on your lap. And relax your complete body. Head to toe. Please Relax your head now. Relax your neck muscles. Relax your upper back, your lower back. Your seat is relaxing. Your legs, your knees. If you feel any tension in your feet, completely relax them now. This body scan is about being aware of every part of your body and with loving kindness, asking it to just relax. Relax your arms, your facial muscles, and take a moment to now focus on your breathing. Inhale deeply, filling your belly with air. Exhale slowly and just let go. Inhale along with oxygen, love and compassion. Exhale and let go all worry and anxiety. One more conscious inhalation, and with every breath, you become more relaxed, more comfortable, more at peace. If you feel the cool air or warmth on your skin, just be aware of it. No judgment at all, nowhere to go. Everything is in its right place right now. Be aware of any sounds nearby, maybe a fan or a distant horn. Just be aware. If you have not put yourself on mute, please do so now. And as you enjoy this silent time with your body completely relaxed, I invite you to mentally follow the words of an inspiring passage. In mindfulness meditation, we are just training our attention to be where we want it to be. And when we dwell on positive passages and phrases, we become what we meditate on. This is a passage by a very famous saint, Teresa of Avila. Repeat it mentally, the sentences that I say in the same slow pace. If your thoughts run away, just gently bring them back to the passage. Let nothing upset you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything is changing. God alone is changeless. Patience achieves the goal. who has God lacks nothing. God alone fills your every need. When we use the word God, we are not calling someone far away in a heaven, but we are referring to the very divine spark in our own selves. Mentally, just repeat these two lines. Let nothing upset you. Let nothing frighten you. Take a bone. Sorry, someone is not on mute. I apologize. Never mind. Just be aware of the calm in your mind. Let nothing upset you. Let nothing frighten you. And now you can focus back on your breathing. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils, the warm air leaving it. And at your own time, when I ring a soft bell, you may gently open your eyes with your heart filled with gratitude and a big smile on your face to greet this world around you. My dear friends, you may gently open your eyes. Thank you very much for participating. How do you feel?
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you very much.
ma'am, no words to express our gratitude to you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
We
Very interesting.
are very
Relax,
grateful and
relax.
happy within and outside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
so
can I
much.
ask you a question? Ma'am,
Yes.
can I ask you a question, please?
So you can ask a question. Go ahead, sir. I
Okay,
have just one thing to tell you. You all
Sure.
felt happy and peaceful and relaxed. You know why? Because your mind was being your best friend. That's all.
Great.
You made
Great.
your mind your best friend. Okay, go ahead, sir. What's the question?
Okay. My name is Sushil.
Yes, sir.
Just one question. In fact, whatever you said, I'm sorry, please don't mind my saying this. What you said, they are all practical things.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, you may also agree that, practically applying to your own self is also difficult. It's not that easy. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if I would like to have your advice here and a master key from you, that assuming that my body is a computer, I would like to have a software from your end which can program my mind, which is sitting inside, so that my mind or I on the whole become unupsettable.
Very nice. Thank you, Sushil ji. If we make ourselves unupsettable, bas aur kya hai? That's our biggest goal in life, right? Because in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that samatvam yoga uchyate. That means if you are samatva, whatever happens, good or bad, and you don't yo-yo with the good and bad, that is the uchyate yoga. That's the best yoga, Krishna tells Arjuna. And so we want to get a mind which is equanimous. And to get that, the only software that will work are these 4 or 5 things we talked about. But within that, 2 are very important. One is daily taking 10 minutes minimum 10 minutes of meditation and me time. And no holiday for meditation. Sunday holiday nahi hai. Because we have 66,000 thoughts every day, it seems, as human beings. Can you imagine? And if you don't take 10 minutes to calm down, how are we going to manage the next 66,000 thoughts tomorrow? So first and foremost is the superpower of meditation. And the second is just taking the rest of the 23 half hours or whatever when we are awake. We need that small power phrase which will keep bringing us back to our own core goodness. We are actually full of purity and goodness only. All this other things is created by man, right? So these two tools of mantra and meditation, if we use, I think the superpower of your brain, Sir Sushilji, will easily begin to show that there's great improvement in it.
I would like
Thank
to
you
share
so
my
much.
experience. Yeah, I think practicing the mind, like if our intelligence tells that this is bad, we should not waste time and energy in this. So every time keep practicing, bringing back mind to the proper thought.
Present.
Practicing. That helps. It is helping me.
Very nice, Renuji. You're absolutely, that's the key word, practice. So this is not an easy way to live, mindfulness. It needs discipline. It needs dedication. It needs determination. Jo bhi ho, this is my priority. I'm not going to stop this. My son got married, and we had 2,000 people at the wedding. In India, South Indian Muhurat is, so many people will come, right? Most North Indian also. But even that morning, my husband and I did our meditation and then went to the mandap. Because it's the highest priority. Otherwise, you'll go there and you'll have 100 tensions to handle. Yes, Naveen ji, bataiye.
I would like to add one more thing. Of course, everything is excellent. The monkey of the mind, which tells us, don't do this, we are used to it. What I felt was that we don't strive to accept or form new habits because of the comfort zone we live in or we are used to it. And we, in the old age or whatever times of good times or bad times, you're not accepting the present moment. So I would not say the monkey in the mind, it becomes like an elephant of the mind, which is draining our energy for nothing. And thank you very much, Doctor. We are very grateful to Dr. Sen Gupta, to you and Swami Chidamanandji, I mean, everyone. That each one is a beautiful soul, but we at this age we become so stubborn, not because that are log kya kahenge, abhi main karungi, so it is too late. It's never too late. Just try and do
Never
it.
too late. Never too late.
Never too
Thank
late.
you. Thank you,
Madam.
Naveen ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam,
Yes.
Wonderful.
madam.
Thank you,
Madam.
Dr. Rajini. Thank you very much. This program also is relevant to the